something I wouldn't recommend going in the water after drinking. Any amount of alcohol, even just, one small drink of beer or a small wine, I wouldn't recommend it at all.
Long weekend fun for young and old. And that's exactly what the Belmont Wetlands State Park Community Trust Board, which helps manage 4.5 kilometres of coastline between Redhead and Blacksmiths, wants to see. But it says not everyone plays by the rules.
There are behaviours that go on here that are just absolutely not acceptable. The police are beside themselves to know what to do, as we are. At present, without a permit system, without rangers, we can't adequately manage all of the pressures that are on here.
The organisation is hopeful permits might be in place by July.
We're really concerned, and the state government and the minister should be concerned as well, that it's not going to take very long before our luck runs out here and someone is killed.
The $55 a year or $22 weekend permit proposal is still being shaped, and the Trust wants public input.
We're more than happy through our Facebook page or through our webpage for people to make comment, put suggestions to us that we can then consider.
The plan has the support of Lake Macquarie Council, police and the beachgoers we spoke to today.
I think the permits will do a good job as long as they keep the motorbikes and the heavy traffic down, and just four-wheel drives and a few quads, and that's not okay, but yeah, just as long as they know they're bound.
There's a lot of it, a lot of rubbish, broken glass. It'd be good to get it all cleaned up.
Even the kids are on board.
Do you think the beach needs to be looked after?
Yes! Why not?
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
Welcome to Newcastle. The city has embraced the chance to host Australia's Asian Cup semi-final clash with the UAE, and Tim Cahill's photo on Instagram seems to indicate the players are happy with their new location. But questions are still being raised about whether the game should be played here.
Would you rather be in Sydney though, playing a semi, or up here?
Doesn't bother me. The weather's nice for us up here in Newcastle. Boys got a great view over the water. And we had a nice trip to the beach yesterday to recover, so the route's pretty jolly at the moment.
And what about being up in here in Newcastle instead of Sydney? Is it disappointing that you won't be there in front of 70,000 fans at Stadium Australia?
No, I don't think so. I had the luxury of playing there a few times in the A-League, and I think we had the top crowd of around 15,000 one game, and the atmosphere was unreal.
Even a pair of former Central Coast Mariners are looking forward to being in the home side at Hunter Stadium.
Yeah, it will be nice. I've copped a bit of stick over the past from Newcastle fans, but this time, we need them shouting our names.
We only maybe lost one in my 3 seasons up there, so hopefully that's a bit of a good omen.
The squad conducted a training session at No. 2 Sports Ground late this afternoon. On Australia Day, there'll be no time for celebrations as they shift training to Hunter Stadium ahead of Tuesday's game.
No plans or anything to unwind or stuff like that. It's all business since being here in camp, and I mean the boys, we wouldn't have it any other way.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. The look on Joel Griffith's face after full time told the story. A new low for the Jets, hammered by Adelaide.
Credit to Adelaide, they just were a wonderful product today. We got smashed from start to finish. It could have probably been more, if I'm putting my hand on my heart.
Rubbing salt in the wounds, Hunter-bred defender Nigel Bogard got on the score sheet. Post-match, Phil Stubbins questioned the motivation of his troops.
It has to be said, I think we lack leadership. We lack a genuine desire. And I won't pick individuals, but collectively I think, you know, the desire amongst the group to actually go out there and attain and achieve something just wasn't there.
The coach now admits the off-field dramas, including ownership speculation and the resignation of club officials, are taking a toll.
I'm really starting to question, you know, how we can take everything forward. I have to say that. I've never been in this situation before. I've never ever had 7 goals put past me.
In a further sign of frustration, Adrian Madashi went to the wrong bench and then down the tunnel after giving away a penalty and being substituted midway through the first half. With squad numbers dwindling through injury and transfers, the Jets have a 12-day turnaround to regroup before they host Brisbane.
We've obviously got some positions that we need to fill. We've been trying to do that and get them in as quick as we possibly can.
Wilco's done a great job. In terms of the selection, you know, flip a coin. I have no idea what the boss is thinking. He's been keeping everyone on their toes, and it's shown that whoever he selects is going to be up for the job.
Captain courageous. Everyone's got confidence in him. At the end of the day, he's the man we rely on to get us pumped for the game, and he carries all the weight on his shoulder, bearing that armband. So we just got to do our job, and he'll do his.
From Fiji to France and Kenya to Korea, today these people shared a common bond, becoming Australian citizens, all very proud and some overwhelmed to now call this country home.
Australia is such a very democratic and multicultural country. It is an honor for me to become a part of Australian society.
Feeling like you belong is good.
The nature, the climate, the people, everything is just amazing.
During the ceremony, Kurt Fernley, who was racing in Sydney today, was named Newcastle's Citizen of the Year. The Fort Scratchley Historical Society was awarded Community Group of the Year, and the volunteers celebrated with a bang. 12 Hunter residents received the Order of Australia, including Maggie Sulman, for her voluntary work at the Calvary Mater Hospital, spanning 23 years.
Every day I walk away just feeling very enriched from not only the staff but, you know, patients and family members.
Another worthy and humble recipient, Kevin Berger, instrumental in founding the Dale Education Program, which supports at-risk and special needs youth as well as young mums.
Shocked because there's so many people working in with special needs students, and now a growing number working with young parents that are doing a great job.
A small but patriotic crowd braved the rain at Spears Point, with the stage set for a big concert tonight featuring Dragon and the Bushwhackers, plus fireworks at 9 o'clock. In a jam-packed program at Singleton, the tug-of-war was a highlight. The Army boys again too good for the emergency services team. Double pluggers were hurled skyward at Maitland Pool. 10-time champion Mark Eckford again victorious in the thong throwing competition with 43 metres. And it's just not cricket without a match with your mates to celebrate our National Day.
It was a rough week. I totally disagree with what happened last weekend, but we'll hold our heads high and fight for this thing.
Matt Hall admits he was disappointed with the way he wrapped up the 2014 Air Race Series. In an effort to improve, he's been flying back and forth to Germany, where his racing plane has been undergoing modifications.
And we still haven't managed to test it all yet, but we've got new winglets, so 1 metre higher winglets like you see on airliners on the end of our wings. So, in theory, they should make us a bit more efficient.
At home, Hall has been using his backup aircraft to hone his skills, hoping to emerge as a title contender in 2015. In 6 days, he'll swap test runs over Lake Macquarie for the Desert Air in Abu Dhabi. Last year, connecting with a pylon cost the Aussie a shot at victory in the United Arab Emirates. This time around, he's not getting carried away.
We'll just go in there with a positive attitude, do as well as we can, and let the results take care of themselves.
As the push continues to bring a race to Lake Macquarie in 2016, Hall knows a strong showing this season is vital.
Well, I know that there's a team actually working on the logistics of how to make it happen here in Australia. So, fingers crossed, we will be racing, maybe not too far from here.
Well, kickoff is still around 2 hours away, but the crowd is steadily building here at Hunter Stadium ahead of tonight's clash between the Socceroos and the United Arab Emirates. The winner, of course, goes on to play South Korea in the final of the Asian Cup. The loser will be back here at Hunter Stadium on Friday night to take on Iraq in the third place playoff. Proving just how big this game is, even my mum went out and bought herself a ticket. Unfortunately, Mother Nature hasn't been doing us any favours, with rain falling steadily throughout the day. Fortunately, our weatherman Gavin Morris tells me it's not going to be too heavy throughout the game, so make sure you get down here to support the Socceroos in full voice. The Socceroos have been enjoying amazing support here in the Hunter. This morning they took one last walk around Newcastle before tonight's game against the UAE. I'll have more later on in sport about team selection. For now, it's back to you.
Off the train from Maitland in the Valley and onto buses at Hamilton Station. It's a reasonably smooth transition on a rainy morning at peak hour. But many say changing modes of transport is a headache, adding up to 20 minutes to their previous travel times.
Yeah, a lot easier if we just kept going along the track.
It's very inconvenient for us.
Commuters say the outbound trip is the more frustrating. They often miss the train home from Hamilton due to buses caught in congestion. Many fear it'll be worse once school goes back.
It's going to be drizzling for the week. We are now high capacity. The Asian Games are tonight. People do not know which direction to go.
And cyclists are outraged. They can take bikes on a train but not onto a bus.
Well, we get off the train here and we're supposed to be able to put our bike on the bus, but we're not allowed to, so when it's pouring down rain, we've got to ride in the rain to Newcastle to get to work.
Solicitor Kim Cross has long argued against the rail line's truncation. NBN News travelled with her on what was a 30-minute commute from Metford to Newcastle Station late last year. She'd been catching the train for 3 decades. Today we tracked her down for her verdict.
Now I tend to drive. The reason that I do that is that the lack of predictability. So it's potluck, you get to the bus stop, hope to get the bus, hope to get the train.
Meanwhile, 5 pedestrian crossings over the Newcastle rail line will soon open well ahead of schedule, linking the CBD to the foreshore.
Operation Safe Return concluded at midnight, wrapping up a 4-day statewide traffic blitz focused on people heading home from holidays. Hunter drivers have been commended for their good behaviour, with police reporting no major issues on the roads, including in traffic trouble spots.
The traffic actually started to get a bit heavier and built up more so on the M1 motorway from Beresfield through to the Hawkesbury Bridge. It flowed, it was just very slow. People were very patient, which made our job so much easier.
Across the region, speeding offences were significantly lower, down 112 compared to last year. Initial statistics for drink driving are also positive, with final figures to be released in the coming days.
People were behaving themselves, they were driving within inside the speed limits, obviously not consuming alcohol and driving, and the results were really good for this region.
However, seatbelt related offences and mobile phone use were both slightly higher this year. Police say drivers need to heed to the warnings about using mobile devices behind the wheel.
Mobile phones can't be used when it's driving. That includes just holding the phone in your hand, simply, whilst you're driving. You cannot use the phone in any shape or form whilst you're driving.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
What's known as the Cliff car park has now been entirely fenced off as Newcastle Council begins stage 2 of the Bathers Way project. The path will ultimately connect the city's 5 main beaches between Merewether and Nobbies.
It's a very exciting phase because instead of having our pedestrian 4 to 6 metre wide pathway walking through a car park and cars reversing, et cetera, we'll have, the shared pathway, some green space, new lighting, new planting, native planting.
Angled car parking will be created along Kilgore Avenue and Memorial Drive to keep vehicles well away from pedestrians. Stage 2 will see the area between the car park and the Cooks Hill Surf Club undergo a facelift, and while it mightn't look like a lot of land, the Lord Mayor says it is a significant part of the overall project.
This is a real missing link between Merewether and Bar Beach in terms of getting that shared pathway. We're finding pedestrian counts up into the 900 people per hour, and over summer I'm sure it exceeded those numbers. So this is a really important piece of infrastructure for the whole region.
The cost of the entire project is estimated at around $35 million, with this section due for completion by the end of the year. Meanwhile, work is also underway to improve the Nobbies Beach car park, while the Anzac Memorial Walk between Bar Beach and Strzelecki Lookout remains on schedule to be ready by April. Madeline McKell, NBN News.
It's not satisfactory to have a club with no CEO and no chairman, so we need to get that put into place very quickly. If action isn't taken, then obviously we'll move to another phase, but we're not quite there yet.
Yes, there's just over an hour until kick-off here between the Socceroos and the United Arab Emirates at Hunter Stadium. The crowd continues to build up behind me in anticipation of the Asian Cup semi-final clash. Speaking to the media, Millie Jedinak said Australia's rotation policy has been working a treat in this tournament. 23 players fit and available for selection. The possible headache for Ange Postecoglou, whether to select Matt Sporanovic or former Central Coast Mariner Matt Wilkinson in defence. Of course, the man of the moment is Tim Cahill. We'll find out in just over an hour whether he can lead Australia to the Asian Cup final. We have all the wrap-up tomorrow night on NBN News. For now, it's back to you in the studio. The Men of Football lunch was originally organised to celebrate tonight's Asian Cup semi-final, but even the buzz surrounding the Socceroos couldn't drown out concerns about the crisis at the Newcastle Jets. FFA CEO David Gallop says time is running out for Nathan Tinkler to make good on his promises to fix the club.
We've got some timelines in place. They're pretty imminent. There's obviously some fairly significant debts that need to be cleared, and the deadlines for that are fast approaching.
But debts aren't the only concern for the sport's governing body.
It's not satisfactory to have a club with no CEO and no chairman, so we need to get that put into place very quickly. If action isn't taken, then obviously we'll move to another phase, but we're not quite there yet.
The Men of Football group, which supports local players past and present, says it wants more transparency at the A-League club, whoever's in control.
We still support the team, as we always will, where our objective is to support football in Northern New South Wales. And regardless of who the new owner is or what's going to happen with our club, we'll always be there to support them.
Despite debate about hosting the Asian Cup semi-final at Hunter Stadium, Tim Cahill has been quoted as saying fans from the region are the most passionate the Socceroos have encountered during the Asian Cup.
We've certainly seen a bit of that over the last couple of days. We want to make some noise out there tonight and make sure that UAE know that we're on our home patch. Newcastle fans are good at delivering that.
That passion could translate into the Aussies returning in the future for a World Cup qualifier.
So there's certainly an opportunity for us to bring games to somewhere like Newcastle. I guess tonight will be a sign that if we do come up here, then fans will get behind the Socceroos, and that's certainly what we want to do.
And that's music to the ears of these fans of the round ball game.
Newcastle and Northern New South Wales, for that matter, has been a home of football for hundreds of odd years now. And the fact that the Socceroos are playing here is just wonderful for the whole area.
I think we're just hitting our form at the right time. We had a good semi-final against Victoria and then a really good match against South Australia in the final. So everyone seems to be in form, everyone's contributing. So yeah, we're ready to go.
The Socceroos called Newcastle home for 6 days, but the excitement never dimmed. Fans today keen for one more glimpse of their heroes as they left for Sydney. He may not have hit the target against the UAE, but Tim Cahill was still the star attraction. Last night, Hunter football fans were out in force, soaking up the atmosphere before kick-off. Inside the stadium, the Socceroos played their part to perfection. The win puts Australia into the final against South Korea in Sydney on Saturday night. A loss would have seen the Socceroos back at Hunter Stadium on Friday for the third-place playoff. That will now be Iraq and the UAE, but no one was thinking about that after full time.
Good crowd response, good game, well worth it. Yeah, on to the final.
Oh, great win from the Aussies. It was great crowd atmosphere and just proud to be here.
Mate, brilliant. How good's that? 2-0. Yeah, beauty. As an ambassador for the city of Newcastle, nice to see the city come out in force.
Yeah, I saw a lot of green and gold tonight, so it's good to see, and I hope everyone gets behind football now.
The state member for Newcastle believes the local response to the Asian Cup proves the city can host even bigger events.
This is really the sort of thing that we should be looking at for the future in terms of a bid for the Commonwealth Games in 2030. We've got a bite of it here, a bit of a taste of it. I think we should go for it.
For now, fans are simply hoping the Socceroos will be back in the Hunter for a World Cup qualifier.
I think it was wonderful. Newcastle needed it, and the Jets aren't performing well at the moment, so I think that's what we need.
We're 100% behind the club. We want to put it right. We're definitely going to go play. We're definitely going to go train.
This is the document Labor says the coalition doesn't want you to know about. A New South Wales Trainlink notice addressed to Hamilton Station staff explaining that due to path availability, departing trains can no longer be held at the station for passengers on arriving ones during peak times.
It's clear that the system is not working, and it now means that these commuters are going to be even more inconvenienced. As their train's not held, they might have to wait up to half an hour or another hour for a train to make their connection.
This has been badly planned, badly organised, there's no mandate.
New South Wales Trainlink says it's early days in the transition and it's working through any operational issues as they arise. But Labor didn't stop there, again labelling the current situation at Hamilton as dangerous.
And you talk about chaos. I just got out of the car and there was nearly a crash as I got out from the buses and the cars trying to get round the corner, and pedestrians as well.
But work on the rail line appears to be going full steam ahead. Liberal candidate Karen Howard and her supporters today became the first people to walk across one of 5 new pedestrian crossings linking the CBD to the foreshore.
Steel Street crossing will actually save 1.4 kilometres in trekking to and from the waterfront from the CBD. We're just delighted to see our city connect back to our waterfront, which is originally how it was.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
He's been a part of several strong Socceroos lineups during his career, but Jets midfielder David Carney believes the current squad is good enough to claim Australia's first Asian Cup on Saturday.
They got beat against Korea the last game, but you know they had enough chances to win, so I'm confident they'll win it.
Last night against the United Arab Emirates, Australia was in control right from the opening whistle.
I always thought the Socceroos would start well, and they did. UAE looked very tired from the extra time they went into with Japan, and you know the second half we slacked off a bit, but I think it was pretty much game over after the first 15 minutes.
Carney reserved special praise for former Mariner Trent Sainsbury, who scored his first international goal at Hunter Stadium.
He's been fantastic this tournament, and you know scoring a great header, but he's on the ball, he's very composed, and he's definitely one for the future.
An A-League franchise seemingly on the verge of a spectacular crash and burn. Despite having only one win in 15 starts this season, the Jets haven't trained since Saturday's 7-0 hammering in Adelaide.
We want to work hard, which we're not training at all. So we want to train, we want to be prepared, but we're not getting that.
Then there's the explosive statement from Jets owner Nathan Tinkler last night, including, among other things, I would say to every Jets fan that as disappointing as the weekend was, just imagine if you had to pay these blokes.
You know, it's hard, and you know, we really feel sorry for the fans more than anything, because you lose 7-0, and you need to get answers for that.
Phil Stubbins has Tinkler's full backing, and as far as one local football veteran and commentator is concerned, you can't just blame the coach.
The performance the other day was just completely unacceptable. Some of these blokes, I don't know what they're thinking. They are playing for contracts. Every week when they play football, they are playing for a contract.
There's even been talk of a player strike after tensions between them and Stubbins reached boiling point in the aftermath of Saturday's game. But today that was dismissed by the senior playing group.
That's definitely not true. I think with the players, we're 100% behind the club. We want to put it right. We're definitely going to go play. We're definitely going to go train.
Football Federation Australia CEO David Gallop only yesterday reaffirmed that Newcastle Jets boss Nathan Tinkler needs to come good on terms and conditions, or else the FFA will take control of the club. Clearing up a $140,000 debt to Northern New South Wales Football is also part of the deal.
HSG owe Northern New South Wales Football money for the Emerging Jets program and also the W League from 2014. So yes, we are concerned about that.
Michael Kane, NBN News. In full flight, they're Australia's biggest bird of prey, but wedge-tail eagle Bonnie was found at Branxton a few weeks back below her best. Today it was the Sugarloaf Animal Hospital's task to turn that around. And while getting her sedated wasn't easy,
It was necessary for Bonnie's comfort and everyone's safety. The operation, a delicate transplant along one wing after someone clipped her feathers. The possible reasons even crueler than the act itself.
There are circumstances where people will try and restrain wedge-tailed eagles in order to encourage normal eagles to fly down and check it out so they can hunt them and kill them.
Before the procedure could begin, the wing was assessed. Damaged feathers were then trimmed and splints made out of bamboo skewers inserted into donor feathers. These new feathers were then slotted into the original shafts and glued into place.
It is repetitive and a little bit fiddly, but the results without a doubt are worthwhile. A little bit of time taken means that this bird doesn't have to spend time in captivity until it grows new feathers it can go back to the wild.
Bonnie's heart rate was constantly monitored as the wing was rebuilt, one feather at a time. 2 hours later, the job was done and Bonnie again had working wings. Native Animal Trust Fund volunteer Jill Dean will now determine when she's ready for release.
I know it can fly across the ground because we witnessed that, but now we want to see it get up into the trees. So once it gets up to the highest perches in my aviary, which are about 3 metres off the ground, I'll know that bird is ready to go.
Madeline McKell, NBN News.
After 24 hours of mass sackings, it was a sombre-looking group of players who fronted training this morning, wondering just what the new day would bring. Do you think the club will survive the rest of the season, guys?
I don't know. We will see.
Disappointing?
Oh, obviously.
As far as your future's concerned, are you worried about your future as a player?
I don't know, man.
5 players and 3 coaching staff were yesterday dismissed. Today, one of them, Clayton Zane, was still in a state of shock.
There's been problems that have been brewing that have been separate to the staff. Haven't been privy to everything that's been going on with the playing group. But in saying that, everyone knows that the club's been in a little bit of a mess for a while.
The situation is now dire enough for the boss of the Players Association to make a beeline to Newcastle to meet the players.
They've got obligations outstanding to all of these guys, and we expect for them to attend to work and do their job, and we also expect them to similarly treat them in a professional manner.
And Adam Vivian has questioned the manner in which the SAG Jets learned their fate.
They've found out through various mediums, whether it be through the internet, through TV, through text message. Some have received phone calls, but I think at this stage it's largely trying to piece all that together. Unsatisfactory, absolutely. I think it's disjointed and unsatisfactory.
At around 9 this morning, Phil Stubbins addressed the players just before a gym session and asked them did they have any more grievances in regards to yesterday's sackings. It's believed up to 3 players then stood up and said along the lines of, from now on, we're playing for the fans, not you. While the coach is yet to speak about his role in the saga, club owner Nathan Tinkler hit the airwaves this afternoon, standing by his decisions.
It's been an awful season, but what do you want? Did you want this to continue? You want to keep watching the same people with the same attitude run around each week and deliver this? No thanks. Ange Postecoglou decided he wasn't going to watch it when he went to the Brisbane Roar, and other coaches before that have decided the same thing. And place needs a change of culture, and it needs a rev up, mate, and that's what it's going to get.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
Newcastle's special relationship with the round ball game was highlighted during the Socceroos' visit.
It's been great, even in Newcastle the other night, to have the fans camped out at the hotel, to appreciate, the city and a full house, regardless of some of the comments that have been made. For me, it's fantastic that we've shared the game with the whole of Australia.
But it's rarely been smooth sailing for the region's flagship teams. KB United was formed in 1977 and featured local and international stars. But the club folded in 1984. The Breakers emerged in 1991, playing at Birmingham Gardens. Despite passionate support, eventual owner David Hall was unable to settle significant debts.
We really need Soccer Australia to make a decision quick and say they're not playing with our livelihoods.
And by 2000, the club was gone, replaced by Newcastle United, our last team in the NSL.
Soccer Australia yesterday granted a Northern New South Wales Soccer Federation proposal, backed by millionaire businessman Con Constantine, permission to enter the NSL after the Breakers were booted out of the league last Friday.
Millionaire Con Constantine would then lead Newcastle into a golden era in the A-League, culminating in a grand final victory in 2008. 2 years later, he was stripped of the club's licence, which was handed to Hunter mining magnate Nathan Tinkler. Despite some high-profile signings, the drama continued, including the sacking of coach Branko Kalina on the eve of the 2011-2012 season. Then, just months later,
the Hunter Sports Group will not be fielding a Newcastle Jets team in the 2012-2013 A-League season.
Tinkler eventually took back the licence, but 3 tumultuous years on, long-suffering fans in the Hunter are again standing on the sideline, wondering what the future holds. Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
It's a tradition the RAF does well. And today there was no shortage of military pageantry as almost 1,000 personnel from Williamtown's Air Combat Group welcomed their new commander. The handover marks the end of a 35-year career for Air Commodore Tony Grady.
The men and women are just absolutely professional and committed, and I really couldn't have asked for a better team.
New Commander Air Commodore Stephen Robertson says he's excited about the years ahead, while RAF personnel continue to work alongside coalition forces to bring down ISIL in the Middle East. Back home at Williamtown, big changes are underway.
We've got a lot of exciting transitions into new equipment and new capabilities, new aircraft coming in, and we'll be seeing some of that here at the RAF base Williamtown.
More than $1 billion is being spent upgrading facilities ahead of the arrival of the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter.
We've got people over there now flying our very first aircraft.
The combat aircraft will eventually replace the ageing FA-18 Hornets that call Williamtown home, with the first set to touch down in Australia from the US in 2018. Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
Five-year-old Oliver McIntyre is one excited kindy kid. His uniform is ready, a neat fit, as well as all the bits and pieces. He's already met his teacher.
She's super duper nice.
Now it's just a matter of waiting until Monday. While Oliver is raring to go, many youngsters aren't ready for the transition from home or early childhood learning to big school.
The Australian Early Development Census has found that 1 in 5 young children are developmentally vulnerable when they enter schools.
It's about more than being able to write their name or count to 10. Experts say social and emotional skills are key, like being able to make friends, share and communicate their feelings.
And that's not to say that they can't be they can't learn these skills during this week and the weeks to come. It's just really important that we support those children now in this big change.
Celia Ray says the best tip for parents is to listen to their children.
To have a bit of a chat with them, see how they're feeling, talk about their expectations of what school's going to be like.
It's going to be a big year.
Happy.
You know, Ange Postecoglou decided he wasn't going to watch it when he went to the Brisbane Roar, and other coaches before that have decided the same thing. And Place needs a change of culture, and it needs a rev up, mate, and that's what it's going to get.
Today's launch of the 2015 version of Surfest took place inside Newcastle's City Hall, acknowledging the fact it was the local council that passed a motion to create the event in 1984. More than 30 years later, the contest continues to attract interest from competitors across the globe. The action begins on Sunday with wildcards up for grabs at the Port Stephens trials.
We've got entries coming from Western Australia, young Jack Robinson, one of the pipeline masters, young kids coming over, and Queensland as well. So they're coming from everywhere for this event on the weekend to try and win that one wild card.
On February 15, organisers are hoping to add a world record to Surfest's books.
What we're trying to do is create the most amount of surfboards in one line. So it's over about 500 we're looking for. So we've got a fair bit to beat the South Australian city that owns it at the moment. So hopefully everyone gets behind it and it should be a great morning.
Despite losing funding, the Open Women's event has still attracted plenty of interest. Organisers hope it will be restored to a 6-star rating by 2016.
We're talking to people now, just time ran out on us this year, but we are talking to people and we'll be bringing them along and encouraging them to look at an investment in the event for the future.
Training hard is just part of the daily ritual for Paralympian and global marathon ace Kurt Fearnley. But right now, his focus is closer to home. This Saturday night, he'll take part in the Hunter Track Classic.
To be home on the weekend, have a great field, to get out there in front of the home crowd and have a really good hit out, it's going to be wild.
Organisers are also rapt to have the local hero on board.
We've been chipping away at Kurt Fearnley for the last 6 years, and finally he's freed up his diary.
The meet is now part of a national series, and Fearnley's looking forward to producing the goods in front of familiar faces.
Well, I've been able to travel around and be part of the domestic series for almost 15 years now. So to get one in Newcastle and get a high quality field out here, that's what it's all about.
He'll be up against the likes of American Josh George, who's using the Classic as a lead into a busy schedule.
We have a bunch of big marathons coming up for me. I'm running London, Boston, New York, and Chicago, and then the World Championships in Doha towards the end of the year.
The Classic will also host a number of Commonwealth Games medalists.
Got Eleanor Patterson in the high jump, but also a sensation from Tasmania, Jack Hale, teenage sensation. He's coming. He'll be long jumping and doing a sprint as well. And we've got some amazing middle distance races over 800 and 1500 metres.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
powerful and extremely dangerous. Waves up to 10 foot, the biggest seen in days, battered the Hunters coastline. Beaches from Catherine Hill Bay to Stockton were closed. Even Newcastle's baths took a pounding. At Nobby's Beach, lifeguards vented their frustration when a bodyboarder ignored their warnings and tried to surf the break known as Big Ben, only to be swept out to sea.
Obviously there's a lot of water that flows out and he was unable to come back to shore there, so we picked him up over in Stockton.
The man was eventually picked up by a jet ski 2 kilometres away in Stockton Bight and brought back to shore, hopefully a little wiser. Just minutes earlier, a woman had experienced nature's fury on Nobby's breakwall. The terrifying moment she was swept onto rocks, captured on camera, while a surfer had to be winched to safety by the Westpac rescue helicopter after he was picked up and dumped onto a rock shelf at Dudley. Lifeguards say conditions this big are best left to highly experienced surfers.
The rips really pull hard when the surf conditions are so big. They open right up. For all the water that's coming in, it has to find a way back out to sea.
While we've seen the worst for now, the message remains: stay out of the water if the beaches are closed. But if the surf's too good to pass up and you are experienced, remember,
if you are going out, don't go out alone.
Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
Wooden pallets, fridges, old furniture and used toys. The list goes on. Hundreds of metres of bushland along this dirt track off John Renshaw Drive at Taro is covered in rubbish. That's the voice of Newcastle resident and four-wheel drive enthusiast Steve Shotton, who's clearly frustrated after making the discovery this week.
I was just driving past and I saw something in the bush, looked like some rubbish dump, maybe some machinery, so I thought I'll just poke my head in and have a look. And I was blown away, and that's what made me think, well, I've got to take this, I've got to get this out there, and I want people to see it.
Since posting the video on social media on Tuesday, it's clocked up a staggering 950,000 views and hundreds of comments. Steve says he's shocked by the response and hopes it goes some way towards helping people change their behaviour.
People don't see it, so it's become acceptable. It's the whole, not in my backyard thing, so that's okay. But the thing is people need to understand it is our backyard. It's all of our backyard. Everyone owns it. And if we want to enjoy it as a community, we need to look after it.
Newcastle Council says it's aware of the video and is very concerned by the dumping. An investigation is underway. Council is urging anyone with information to contact them. Renee Feder, NBN News.
I want to bring this back onto the top of the priority list. This is a traffic bottleneck. We're in a great city and this is holding us back, and we need to have it fixed now. No more talk, no more excuses.
Welcome to Hunter TAFE's newest classroom. A space where music students can get real-world production experience without having to leave Newcastle.
I get a real experience working with people, musicians, creative minds.
Hunter TAFE's music department has joined forces with Muso's Corner's new 90-degree studio. Decked out in the latest recording equipment, the space was initially established as a studio showroom for big brand buyers.
Surprisingly enough, there's nowhere you can really test out something even like a studio microphone in the right environment. You can do that here now, right here in Newcastle.
From next week, the studio will become a classroom for around 100 TAFE students as part of their diploma and advanced diploma studies.
This place is about as high-tech as it gets.
It's literally there hot off the press for our students and ourselves to utilise every week.
It's hoped students who study locally will go on to secure jobs in the region.
There's so many musicians and so many people involved in creative industries in this town. It's only getting bigger and better.
Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
It's an exit door that's been copping a workout of late. In the last 48 hours, 5 players and 3 of the club's coaching staff have been sacked. And the hits kept coming today, with assistant coach Michael Bridges handing in his notice. Normally media-shy Nathan Tinkler faced the music yesterday on local airwaves.
No apologies for the changes that are made. They need to be made, and we've got to galvanise and move forward.
High-profile football commentator Andy Harper believes changes needed to be made after the club's poor start to the season, which has produced only 1 win from 15 games.
The only surprise in this is that the bloodletting has been so dramatic. Not that the trainers hit the wall, unfortunately. In the end, it's their job to do stuff on the football field. You know, we're not asking them to solve third world debt.
At around 10 o'clock this morning, Michael Bridges handed in his resignation to the Newcastle Jets, citing that he wasn't happy with the way the club handled the sackings of the 5 players and the 3 coaching staff. Taking his place will be youth team coach James Pascoe.
Frustrations for the coach have been very real, but you've got to deal with those away from the field. You've got to do 2 things at once in these situations. You've got to tackle the problems head on off the field, and you've got to acquit yourself with the utmost professionalism on the field.
The club was back on the paddock today, with coach Phil Stubbins calling the shots, while officials from the Players Association kept a close eye on proceedings. Surprisingly, sacked defender Adrian Madashi made an appearance, but only to hand back club clothing. Nathan Tinkler's Hunter Sports Group has until tomorrow to meet the demands of Football Federation Australia, which includes clearing debt to creditors, or the governing body will take control of the licence.
We'll get that fixed up very shortly, and that'll be put to bed, and we'll be back on an even keel.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
Jeff would, I'd say, bat in the top 4 on the weekend. Obviously, we've already got a captain for this season, but he'll obviously have a little bit of an input there. He did a bit of coaching with us last week before our last game, and that had a very positive impact on our club.
For me, the first few weeks were pretty crazy. I kind of let the pressure get to me a bit too much, but now it's more just relax, do my own thing, race my own race, and kind of just going to it knowing I've done the hard work and whatever happens will happen. Going to be really tough. I mean, it's just going to be really good to get the experience under my belt and jump against Australia's best long jumpers.